All right, welcome to another live episode of geekoutdoors.com. So on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Amazon Tube, Apple's Homepod, and the Linux Spectre fix that is absolute garbage. And so before I begin, let's make sure that this stream is working and I get the chat running. So this is something that I have, actually the first piece of news with Amazon Tube is something that I talked about on previous episodes, and it's kind of interesting, actually, Amazon as a whole, and so I really can't wait to get into that. So let me see if it's running. Okay, so it looks like it is live. All right, great. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this chat out. All right, so still not live there. Okay. How about that? Okay. Okay. So let's turn this off here. And so typically what I have to do when I do a live episode for people who are new, normally I'll do my live episodes on my phone, but sometimes I do it through my computer. And whenever I do it on my phone, it actually is live on the phone, but then when you log into your YouTube backend, then you could actually change the chat settings, okay? Because I don't want the chat settings on the phone, and the thing is, there's not an easy way for me to do that. So that's just an FYI for anybody who's actually coming into it right now. So let's go ahead and get into this. So the first bit of news is Amazon Tube, and so this is news that actually came out in December. And the news here specifically is that Amazon has actually filed for trademarks for Amazon Tube and OpenTube. And this is something that I have definitely talked about before, because on one of my episodes, and probably many episodes before that, I talked about how the really only competitors that I see to YouTube and Google are Facebook, Amazon, and Apple. And out of all those, the one that I said will most likely be number 2 is not really Facebook, it's Amazon. You know, and here it's really coming to more light and coming to fruition. And if you are not familiar with what I'm really getting at when I mean Amazon will be the biggest competitor, because if you look at it, Amazon doesn't have anything related to user-generated video except for Twitch. They actually bought Twitch, so Amazon does own Twitch, so they already technically have had a video streaming service. But as anybody who's actually used Twitch versus YouTube, it's really different. You know, whereas YouTube is more basically TV for the internet, it's got everything there. Twitch is really specific to gamers. It has its own type of audience, and it's really not the same, okay? It's not a place where you could just generate content and upload it in whatever category that you want, okay? So it's really not the same. So that's why whenever I talked about, you know, the different video platforms on my previous video, that I didn't really mention Twitch because it's not really the same, okay? And then Facebook, they are really starting to ramp up their video. You know, like they started doing this a while back, that if you uploaded YouTube videos, they would actually basically de-rank you, okay, if you actually made a link from YouTube up to your post. So they will actually increase your rankings or your visibility on Facebook if you uploaded videos directly to Facebook, or if you use something like Facebook live videos, okay? And so that's not by accident, that's actually by design, okay? But the problem with Facebook in terms of video right now, and I have said this before about Facebook, Facebook is not a place where you go and look for things, okay? It's really an environment for people who are already on Facebook. So that's the reason why I didn't really think Facebook in terms of video could be number 2. And the reason why I said Amazon not even having anything in terms of user-generated video besides Twitch, the reason why I think they'll be number 2 is because they have all the pieces ready for it. And right now, in my opinion, Amazon is probably going to be the most powerful tech company in the world. And let me explain why. So first and foremost, and I have mentioned this before, Amazon as a whole, you go to Amazon, it is a buying intent website, a buying intent platform. So you do not go to Amazon really to go browse. You go to buy something. And if you're browsing, you're going to buy something. That's the main advantage and differentiator that Amazon had over any of its other competitors. And secondly, Amazon is everywhere. Let's just say that Amazon is absolutely everywhere. Not only are they obviously in the retail space, but they are also in the video space with Amazon Video, where they're competing against other streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Google, of course, Apple TV, so many other places. They're in that space as well. And then just recently, they're in the whole grocery store market as well. So they purchased Whole Foods, and I read the recent news that the first Amazon Go store has opened in Seattle. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Amazon Go, it's basically a grocery store where you go in, you just take what you want, there's no cashiers, everything's done through your Amazon account, and they track you while you're in the store. You just walk out. You don't have to pay, you don't have to wait in line. And so this is a concept that more and more grocery store, really, especially places like Walmart, they're going to adopt this. And since Amazon has purchased Whole Foods, you could pretty much guarantee that this is going to be available in all the Whole Foods stores in the future. Okay, and also Amazon is also in the whole SaaS business too. You know, that's software as a service business. You know, to where things like Amazon Web Services. Okay, and so they're there as well. They're also obviously in the publishing business with Amazon Kindle, CreateSpace, and also in the audiobook arena with Audible. And so Amazon has its hands in so many places, and most importantly, pretty much all of it is buying intent. So that's why I really feel Amazon is really well positioned to become a video powerhouse. And let's not forget the whole part where as a brand, people recognize and trust Amazon a lot. Okay, so I think their brand name is right up there with Apple, Google, when it comes to purchasing decisions. Okay, Facebook is not there yet because you don't really buy stuff from Facebook. Okay, and so good morning. Hey Gaza, thanks for joining. You actually are on time, but I understand you are not in the US, you're in the UK. I don't know what time it is over there. I can't remember, it's 12 hours ahead. Robert Naramore, thank you so much for joining, Robert. I think this might be your first time on the discussion. Zane Wolf Alpha, thanks for joining again, Zane Wolf. You were there last week. Lance, good morning, Lance. Thank you so much for joining as always. And Gaza said, don't forget their Blue Origin project, which is competing with SpaceX. Yeah, Gaza, I don't remember that, but I do remember for all these, what Gaza is referring to is a lot of these companies and businesses, they are also investing into space travel programs. You know, we've all heard of SpaceX, but also Virgin Atlantic has been developing a way to travel in the top of the earth as well, and Blue Origin. And so there is a lot of investments in so many areas that we as geeks are probably have heard of or probably familiar with, but with a lot of other people they probably never heard of before. Okay, and Ants is asking what's on the screen this week. This week it's Vampire Knight. This series came out as a manga, I think in 2005. Then they came out with some audio CDs of the whole manga, you know, where they actually had people voice the manga. And then finally, they came out with the Vampire Knight series, which aired in 2008, I think all the way up to 2009. So this is season 1. And so it's been a long time since I watched this. So basically, there's 2 different sets of vampires in this Vampire Knight school, one at night and one in the day. It's a pretty cool show, but I don't remember a lot of it, so I just thought I'd play it because I remember watching it a long time ago. Zane Wolf Alpha said, I already watched this anime. LOL. Atlanta said, it's fun. Wait to find out what Go is watching. Gaza If said, is it similar to Vampire Hunter D? No, Gaza, it's not at all. Vampire Hunter D is completely different. One of my favorite animes of all time, and I even like the sequel as well. Getting back to the whole Amazon Tube thing, so that's why I said, like, you know, with everything that Amazon has, with their brand name, they really are poised to leapfrog Facebook in terms of video and become the second place that people go to for video. And I think this is really powerful, okay? Because if you've been reading up on the news on what's going on with Amazon and Google, this was actually coming, okay? You know that if you go on Amazon, you won't be able to purchase any of Google's home products like their Chromecast, Google Home, and so forth. And that wasn't by accident. They did that on purpose. And then also, just recently, with the whole Amazon Echo Show, where YouTube is pulling their YouTube app, and they have done it right now. They've pulled their YouTube app. And so that is something that is strategically done, because now Amazon, not only are they in Google space when it comes to their home service products, and they're not advertising it, but now they're also going to get into the video space. So as a business, Google would be stupid not to do something, because in this case, Google is saying, hey, look, Amazon, we're offering our services to you on your platform. But the other way around, Amazon saying, no, we're not going to advertise any of your products or services. And so Google is doing the right thing when it comes to their business model. And even if you look at their AI stuff, and we'll get into that a little bit more with the Apple HomePod and so forth, is the fact that even if you are doing searches and stuff, they've even filtered out some of the searches that you are looking for. And so, for example, if you were looking for something through search and you're asking Alexa, it's not going to show YouTube results like it used to. Okay, so that's just the beginning. And so let me see if there's anything else out of this news, because Amazon Tube, oh yeah, and so also the Fire TV stick, that they will be removing YouTube, yep, from the Fire TV, the TV dongle. That is huge. And so yeah, this is just the beginning. And what are my thoughts on Amazon Tube? And I think I mentioned a lot of my thoughts in the previous video that I did. And if I can't find that video, I'll be sure to leave a card up there somewhere where you could see my thoughts on Amazon invading YouTube space. But what I think about it is, I think it is a good thing. Okay, and the reason I say that, and this is something that's not surprising, is competition. Okay, so YouTube, honestly, as a video platform, they really have no competitors. Facebook would be the closest, but a competitor that would be in the same space. And once again, I don't think Twitch is directly a competitor to YouTube. Like I said, they serve different purposes. Okay, but if Amazon Tube comes in and they serve a similar purpose, such as what YouTube offers, then I think that'd be good for competition, because that means Google's going to really have to fight even harder than it has before to maintain their dominance. And at the same time, it also gives content creators another platform that they could go to. Okay, and the difference between YouTube and Amazon and Facebook video versus all the other ones, such as the now defunct VidMe or Dailymotion or I can't even Vimeo. The difference between them and the other ones is because Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and later on Apple, they have tons of money. They have tons of money. Let's just plain and simple. And so they're going to be able to invest a lot more. They're going to be able to market much more. And they're also going to be able to move in many other areas, besides just one. Okay, and so that's my feelings on it. And then once Amazon Tube is available, you're definitely going to see Geek Outdoors on there as well. So I'm probably going to definitely upload all of it up on there. And I am already on Amazon. I do sell stuff on Amazon already. And so I'm not like new to it. And at the same time, another area that Amazon is getting into is Amazon ads. Okay, so they're going to come up and compete with both Google AdWords and Facebook ads. I use Amazon ads as well. And so some of the benefits for content creators, because I am on Amazon already, I use their publishing services, I sell stuff, and I also advertise on their platform as well, just as I do on YouTube and Facebook. So the benefit to content creators is, since Amazon is a buying platform, then the chances of you being able to monetize, if Amazon doesn't allow you to do it, I'm saying, it's a lot higher. Because a lot of people are familiar with YouTube. You put your Amazon affiliate links, and maybe Amazon might stop that in the future, I'm not sure. But if you are already on the Amazon platform, then you don't need an Amazon affiliate link, really. I mean, they'll probably integrate all of it, and so people could buy stuff a lot quicker. So for example, I'm doing a video, and let's just say I do a video on Amazon, and I'm talking about this brand new monitor that I'm using, right? And so more than likely, Amazon's going to promote stuff really quick. Hey, you like this monitor? I'm talking about it. Maybe as you're watching it, they will promote computer monitors, computer desktops, mice, and so forth. And you don't have to go anywhere because you're already on Amazon. So yeah, so I think there is definitely a potential there for a lot of content creators to expand where they actually have their content, and at the same time also monetize in different areas, and also basically mitigate or basically defend themselves from having one place where, if they make a policy change, then they still have another place to go. Okay, a viable place to go. Let's just say that. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me see. Wow. Okay, so let me see what else. Okay, Zane Wolf Alpha saying, I read a lot of manga and watch a lot of anime. Yep, Zane Wolf. I think a lot of geeks, and I have mentioned this before, that's why on my channel you see movie reviews, but obviously I do have another channel now. I'm going to pitch that again. It's Go Movies. And so a lot of my movies content, I watch a lot of anime. I watch a lot of the same thing that other geeks do. It's going to be on that channel now. But every now and then I will still do reviews and stuff here. Okay, but I absolutely love anime. The first anime that I saw on TV when I was a kid was Voltron, Transformers, GoBots, but then the first real Japanese anime that I saw, Japanimation, was Fist of the North Star. After that, I never stopped watching anime. Okay, Randy Blankenship. Thank you, Randy, for joining. I think it's the first time to the discussion. Zane Wolf says, I think one day I will make a manga. Yes, Zane Wolf, you should do that. There's a lot of tools available now for people who actually want to create their own content, animes. I can't remember the tool that you can use. Krita? Yeah, you can use Krita to create your own manga, okay? And that is an open source tool that you can use. Lance is saying, I wish it was easier for us to get printed manga here in the US. Best option is reading online with like Bookwalk or something. Lance say, hey, Randy Blankenship, good to see you, bro. Guys say, anyone seen Rose? No, guys, I'm not sure. I haven't seen Rose on the live for a few weeks. Hope they're okay. Let me see, Randy, I'm running deep in 15.5, deep in Linux. Lance saying I'm using Linux Mint. Okay, let me see. Yes, it does have 16 gigs. Okay, so they're talking about Linux. And so if you're watching this channel now, a lot of times, depending on the discussion, we might go off topic, but I will go back to the 3 main topics, and then we'll get back into just like our geeky discussion. Okay, so Gaza is asking, Go, do you have a Discord channel or similar? And Gaza, people have asked me this before, am I on Discord, am I on Twitter, and so forth. No, and the reason why is I really focus my attention on certain things, okay? Because if you are a content creator, and especially if you do a lot more things than just YouTube, okay? I do more things than just YouTube. The biggest problem is time, okay? I mean, I don't have the time to spend time on Reddit, Discord, and social media takes up a ton of time, okay? And so that's why I'm not on there. And at the same time, I like to devote myself on creating things that are sticky. And there's no place that's more sticky than YouTube. What I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you post something on Discuss, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Nobody's going to go search for that. So it's not sticky, okay? Whereas on YouTube, it's a search engine. You create content, and somebody could look up that content 4 or 5 years from now. So that's the main reason why I focus on this, okay? Because I could get a lot more value out of this content, and people will be able to watch this later on, and they can learn from it, okay, or get entertainment, whatever the case might be. And so the bottom line is time, and also the fact that the content on those social media platforms, they don't stick around, okay? So that's why I don't use them, Gaza. So Zane Wolf Alpha saying, if you have a lot of money, I could buy a good PC because in 2 years I will get 50,000 euro. Definitely. Randy says, okay. Okay, so Zane Wolf and Randy are talking about computers. Okay, and we might get back to that later. Okay, okay. So, all right, so let me go back to the discussion. So that's the first thing with Amazon Tube. Whenever that is available, or maybe they have a beta, I will definitely be on there. And I have said that before. So whenever it is available and I get my content on there, I will let you know. And I will also let you know my experiences as a content creator on this other platform, okay? And as I said before, I'm already on Amazon, so I really understand how they work. And I'm gonna let you know one thing, okay? For people who are new to content creating on YouTube, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, okay? But like they are complaining about YouTube policy changes. you have no idea how much more strict it is on Amazon. On Amazon, you make a mistake and it violates their policy, they will shut down your account or suspend your account before you even have a chance to come back and say, hey, what's going on? Okay, that's happened to me before. Okay, so get ready for that. I mean, depending on which platform you're on, the policies are different, and they're always going to be different. But I'm telling you right now, if you think YouTube's policies are strict, then you have not been on Amazon. Amazon is a completely different beast. Okay, and so so the second bit of news, and it's related to this, is Apple's HomePod. So Apple has finally unveiled details in terms of the final release of the Apple HomePod. And if you haven't seen the Apple HomePod, it's basically like it is. It's a pod, okay? And it has this like mesh design. It looks just like a speaker grill. And these are something that I think is, I have said it before, they're not as exciting right now, okay? Even though people are interested, they're more like consumer-based stuff that you're just gonna have in your homes, okay? And so there's not as much hype for the Apple HomePod as there's something like the release of their iPhones or MacBook Pros or iPads or so forth, right? But this is extremely important for Apple, okay? And the reason why is for the same reasons that Google and Amazon are in this space. They want to be in your homes, they want to be in your cars, and obviously they're already on your phone, and they want to be on your internet. So basically, this is another step into having an entirely complete ecosystem that no matter where you go, you're going to be using their products and services. Okay, that's why this is important, because Apple really began this journey with the Apple TV. Okay, so I don't think a lot of people think about that, but the more products and services you use in their ecosystem, the longer you're going to stay as a customer, and obviously the more money you're going to spend. Okay, and the less likely you are going to go somewhere else. So Apple TV was the first seed in that. But now with the Apple HomePod, this is the next step. And from what people have said so far, Apple's HomePod is just what you expect from an Apple device. Understated, and from a technical point of view, limited. Okay, now about the only thing that a lot of people are saying about having the first experience with the Apple HomePod is the speakers are amazing. That's the one thing that a lot of people say. But as usual with Apple, they're usually not the first, and they usually, technically, they don't give you the most features. In this case, besides the amazing sound, they said the features of the AI Siri is very limited. And also, obviously, it doesn't play well with other types of products and services unless you use an Apple iPhone or an Apple iPad or an Apple product. Okay, that's really the only way you can use it right now. And the actual streaming service for audio is limited to Apple Music only at this point. Okay, and so the cost for the Apple HomePod is $350. So it's not cheap. Okay, because if you look at other competitors like the Google Home and Amazon Echo, they have AI devices, smart devices, starting as low as $50 up to like $300 and $300 plus. Okay, and so in my opinion, for Apple HomePod, I think in terms of a purely smart device, technical smart device, you are going to get a better experience through Google's home devices and Amazon's Alexa. And the reason I say that is for one reason, and that is AI, artificial intelligence. Okay, and I have mentioned this so many times before. The next wave of technology is in artificial intelligence. It's not in products and services. Okay, or let me say that it's not in purely just the products. It's really in the AI. And the reason why I say Google and Amazon's AI is so powerful is for one reason and one reason only, and it's some reason that we don't like, but we love the benefits, and that is data collection. These two companies collect a ton of data, and so they have, in my opinion, way more data, way more relevant data when it comes to artificial intelligence than Apple does. Because Apple, they are limited to whatever products and services that they offer. And as you know, Apple likes to keep their ecosystem closed only to Apple devices and services. So it's really only tied to Apple users. And obviously there's many other ways that they collect data, but Google and Amazon collects data in so many places. So with that being said, they can offer a better user experience because they have a lot more data points that they could go to. Okay, and so Apple is still going to sell a ton of these Apple HomePods, and for the simple fact that they're Apple. You know, they have the most powerful brand in the world. They could sell you anything, and more than likely the majority of people are going to buy it. Okay, so I think for this first round, it's definitely going to sell, but I don't think it's not going to make a huge impact, at least version 1, for what's already available with Google Home, and especially with Amazon Alexa products, because of the fact that they've already built that ecosystem. They already have a lot of people using it, and then also the development community developing for Google's Assistant and the skills on Amazon Alexa. It's already pretty huge. Okay, and so yeah, and so this isn't something that's going to stop, you know, and I really feel that you just got to get used to it, you know. You got to get used to the fact that all of your devices at home, they're going to be collecting data from you all the time. You know, you get in your car, it's going to be collecting data. It doesn't matter where you go, it's going to be collecting data. Okay, so obviously people who are very privacy conscious, it's completely negative, period. But then if you think about the fact that all the conveniences that you get from all this data, then people don't complain about that, you know. And so even the people who are heavily into privacy, they don't complain about the benefits, you know. And so there's many benefits for the data that is collected and that is provided in a manner that is actually valuable to the end user consumer. Okay, and so this gets into another thing that Apple is doing. They just did an update for I think iOS 11.3. I can't remember. But one of the updates, let's get into a little bit more about your personal data and privacy, is now you can actually see your health records, your health data through their Apple Health app. Okay, now this is only limited to health providers that have opted to go do this, and obviously you have to opt in. And Apple, as with every single company, is going to say it's completely secure, it's encrypted, blah, 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 blah. But as we all know, no system is completely secure, and your health records, you know, your health information is extremely important. And so that is another step into integrating your data collection into you as the person, as the consumer, how it could benefit you. Okay, and so yeah, so let's go. And then this is a really hot topic every time, you know, and you know my thoughts on this. You know, I feel like be as knowledgeable as you can, but at the same point, just understand that there's not a single place where your data is not being collected, even if you are not on the internet. Okay, so there's really no way around it. Okay, and so that's all it is. You know, just have some common sense. You know, like don't put up your GPS location wherever you go. You know, stuff like that. You know, so I think it's a lot of common sense stuff. So let me see. Oh, let me see. You can buy, okay, it's talking about computers. I'll go back to, I buy pallets. Okay, guys saying, I buy pallets of X enterprise products and I've never had a problem. Okay. Oh, so they're talking about computers. Hey, Rose. Hey, thanks for joining. We were just talking about you earlier. Well, we haven't seen you in a while. Thank you so much for joining the discussion as always. Okay, Zane Wolf is saying bye. Thanks for joining, Zane. I think that's okay. Rose is saying, Zane, okay. Guys are saying Apple HomePod, overpriced and obsolete tech. Yeah, guys, I think for like geeks, you know, like for most of us, I think we all agree to that, or maybe, you know, we agree that Apple's products, they are overpriced and they are technically very limited. Okay, so I don't have any Apple products at home because I don't see, personally, I don't see the value in them, you know, to pay that much. You know, if they weren't so expensive, I might get it. I do like the user experience more than I do Windows. But then again, I have Linux. And so if I never use Linux, I would probably go to Apple. But I have Linux, so I don't see a better experience. That's my opinion. Okay, and so Rose is saying, sorry, no spyware toys like HomePod, Echo, Google Home. I agree, Rose. I have borrowed them from my home. Rose is saying, I would never buy them. God's saying, if I can't control it, I don't want it. You know, Gaza, that's a really good point. Because I think that's why a lot of us who enjoy Linux or other open source products. And what's, open source doesn't mean it's free or you're going to get information or anything. That doesn't mean that. But for the majority of people who use Linux and other open source products, the reason why they use it because of the freedom and also because of the control factor. Okay, I have a lot more control over these things. And so I myself, not saying I would not get a smart device in the future. I mean, our phones are smart devices, right? So at some point, you might not have a choice, okay? Like your thermostats or your air conditioning, who knows, your refrigerator, all of them is going to be smart devices in the future. And so it's going to be tough, it's going to be tough to avoid these type of things, okay? Not unless, and we have talked about this before, whenever the OpenAI, they have a base level, the Linux Foundation, whenever they have that working, and then you spend the time, you could probably create an OpenAI device and use Arduino boards to create your own. I don't know if you wanted to do that. So yeah, so it sucks, like the further we go, the less control you'll have. That's unfortunately, that's where it's heading. Rose said, you got to draw a line, go with data collection, these spyware tools. What real value do they provide? Well, Rose, that's the thing. I mean, like you are using you're watching this on YouTube, right? They're collecting data on you. So you wouldn't have this service if they didn't collect data. They use this data to provide you appropriate videos and service. Or even think about your banking, right? There's a lot of AI underneath. Or if you do investing, they're collecting a lot of data. There's not a single place that data is not collected, period. There isn't. Your smartphone is collecting data all the time. And so if it doesn't have data, it's not going to know what to do. I mean, humans do the same thing. We collect data all the time. I mean, we're watching our environment. We're learning from past mistakes. That's data collection. And so all of these software data collection, they're doing the same thing that humans do, except on a much, much bigger level. Okay, so it's hard to draw the line when the line is in so many places. Okay, and so I just go back to what I said earlier, and I think all of us are already doing this anyway. You gotta make your best common sense choices on where your line is. Okay, and so for example, myself, I'm not gonna put a lot of personal information on social media or my GPS location, or you're gonna put your financials on there. Some people do that. They'll do a lot of things that to me doesn't make common sense, unless they're okay with that. Okay, so that's where I think I draw the line, because I mean, realistically, I already know that my data is going to be collected no matter what. Even if I'm not on the internet, and I have mentioned this before, governments collect your personal information and you have no choice in that, right? And so, and even your cell phone providers, you don't have a cell phone unless you give them personal information. You don't have your electricity unless you give them personal information, right? So it's unavoidable is what I'm saying. And so I think the line is based upon you. Okay, so that's my opinion. That's why I don't really give, like, here's where the line is for personal privacy, because everybody's different. And so for me, I use the whole common sense approach. If you think it's too personal, then don't put it online. Period. That's it. That's my personal line. Okay. And so God's saying, I'm not interested in the so-called benefits. I'd rather take the long way around than to submit it. Just limit and restrict. Yeah, I like what you said, Gaza. Limit and restrict. Which is your own personal choice. Gaza saying, I've got my tinfoil hat ready. Yeah. Yeah, Rose is laughing. Yeah. My tinfoil hat is in the shape of a pirate hat. That's funny. LOL. The newest generation of people being taught that it's good and normal. This is what Lance is saying, and I think this is a great point. Lance is saying the newest generation of people are being taught that it's good and normal to share everything about themselves. Absolutely, Lance. 100%. Because if you are in your young 20s and younger, it's normal. It's normal for you to share your location. It's normal for you to tell your friends everything that you're doing every minute of the day. It's normal for you to share everything that is personal. Your relationships, your families. Let's think about this simple example. On any of these social media, have you seen it where people have their baby, right? And the first thing they do is take a picture and put videos of that baby online. That's adorable. That's cute. That's awesome. You want to share that with people that you love. But the thing is, you have just shared your baby's, your child's personal data, which is their face is already being mapped before they're even adults, before they even understand that their personal information, their identity is already online. Okay, and so in the future, your whole life is going to be online from the time you're a baby until the time that you die. Okay, and so, and like I said, I just used that example of people showing their babies online before the baby is even conscious and aware that it's alive, you know, and so, yeah, so, wait, Rose is saying, you mean the snowflake generation? Rose, yes, and that gets into a really political area, and so I'd rather not get into that, but yes, the special snowflake generation, exactly. Guys are saying, oh boy, snowflakes, can't stand them. Yeah, but you know, snowflakes in real life, they eventually melt, and so they'll eventually become old and become adults. So yeah, anyway, let's go to the last piece of news. And so in general, Apple HomePod, meh, you know, I knew it was coming, but as with most Apple products, I'm not really super excited about, you know, because they, as a geek, I don't really think they introduce anything new. Okay, I'm more interested in all the other stuff that Apple and other companies are doing behind the scenes. You know, that's really where my mindset is, and so I'm not excited about the product, but I'm more interested in what they're doing behind the scenes, you know, underneath. So let's go to the last piece of news. And this is, it's fun for this piece of news because if you've been following the whole Linux world, Linus Torvalds, however you want to say it, he's definitely one of a kind. Okay, and so as you know, a few weeks ago, or it's been known since last year, the whole Spectre and Meltdown issue with Intel CPUs and also some AMD CPUs, and now, you know, Intel has released the first few patches for the Spectre and Meltdown issues. And boy, Linus, oh boy, he basically he's calling it a garbage. He's calling the Linux, the Intel Spectre and Meltdown fix for Linux absolute garbage. And you can actually see this if you go online. He actually first submitted it to the kernel email thread, and it's really technical. Okay, I have no idea what Linus Torvalds is talking about. Okay, now there is an update to it where David Woodhouse, you know, a very veteran kernel developer, tries to explain it. So let me read you some really choice pieces from Linus's email right here. Let me see. All of this is pure garbage. Let me see. Is Intel really planning on making this SH architectural? Let me see. What else is he saying? He's saying. Let me see. So. Okay, it's not weird. Garbage. Oh God, wait. I'm trying to find. Okay. Trying to find some. Okay, so all right. So he's saying somebody isn't telling the truth here. Somebody's pushing complete garbage for unclear reasons. Sorry for having to point that out. If this was about flushing the BTB, which I don't know what that means, at actual context switches between different users, I'll believe you, but that's not at all what the patches do. As it is, the patches are complete and utter garbage. And then he goes on to say, what the F is going on? And so, Linus Torvalds, boy, he's if you know the way he is a brilliant person, okay? And he's also a person that doesn't mince words. And he doesn't care who you are. He will point out your stupidity. And that's what he did here. And he's really pointing this out to the people at Intel, you know, the developers, because what he's saying here is a few things, and I'm just paraphrasing, okay? I might be wrong with this. But what he's saying is, at least for the Meltdown fix, for him, it's an easy fix. It's just a matter of when is Intel going to actually release this to the Linux community, okay? One that actually fixes the problem. And the second thing with Spectre is, it's that it doesn't really fix anything. You know, it actually puts a lot of the responsibilities on people who actually are managing these Linux machines and servers and so forth, okay? And so that is what really pisses Linux off. And at the same time, it's adding additional inefficiencies to the kernel, you know, garbage, okay? And so that's really what he's saying. And I myself, I really love that approach, because Linus Torvalds, I mean, he can be very abrasive if you actually look at it, but so is somebody like Richard Stallman. You know, they don't mince words. You know, they say what's on their mind. And the thing is, they have the intelligence, and also, most importantly, they have the work to back it up. Okay, so I really believe and trust what they say, because number one, Linus Torvalds, Richard Stallman, that's why we have Linux. And so they have the authority to say whatever's on their mind. You know, and so I really feel that whenever Linus does say something, you should pay attention, okay? And so if you didn't know, and I think a lot of people here in the Geek community, they know this, Intel is the largest out of all the manufacturers, out of all the providers, to actually add code to the Linux kernel. Okay, so this is pretty huge, okay? And obviously Intel CPUs are everywhere, and a lot of the biggest servers in the world, they run Unix, Linux, you know, and so it is very important to Intel as a company, okay? And so I'm not sure if it's going to push the needle forward quickly, but I will tell you one thing: when Linux talks, these companies listen, and so my prediction is there will be a better fix coming out. Okay, I think like about a week or so ago, some patches did come out for Ubuntu, and it broke some computers, you know, and so that is not good. Okay, but you can imagine the same thing happening to servers that are processing billions or trillions of dollars around the world, and I'm talking specifically about stock markets and stuff. Okay, and so this is a very serious issue, and I'm not saying it's an easy thing for Intel to fix, because it's very complex, and there's Intel AMD CPUs everywhere, billions of them, okay? And so it's not an easy problem. But then again, the person who created the kernel, the person who is basically the father of everything that we have here, and Richard Stallman, of course, Linux would not be here without Richard Stallman, but in terms of just the kernel, you know, that's the person who created it. And so I do hope that Intel does release a better patch, and that we do get those patches out eventually to all the distros that we use. But obviously the most important ones, or in terms of priorities, is definitely going to be the servers, especially the ones that are dealing with financials and government. That's usually going to be the first place. Okay, and so let me see what other people say. Rose is saying Apple has fallen ever since Steve Jobs died. I don't think they've fallen, Rose. I just think they've evolved to something else, okay? Because when Steve Jobs was there, this is my opinion, okay? When Steve Jobs was there, I think Apple was truly innovative, or more innovative in how they approach things, okay? Because Steve, he is an amazing marketer, okay? So that, I would say that's first and foremost. But he was also very creative in the way that he saw things, okay? He was very ruthless as well, okay? But now, Apple, the modern version, I would say they're less creative. That's my opinion. Okay, they're more corporate, which is kind of funny. They've always been corporations ever since they got big, but they've been more corporate than they've ever been. Okay, that's my opinion. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be bringing out in the next few years. But that's just my personal opinion. Steve Jobs was Apple. You know, obviously, don't forget Steve Wozniak, brilliant person. Okay, but whenever people think about Apple, they think about Steve Jobs. Just like Microsoft, people think about Bill Gates, but they forget about Paul Allen. Okay, and so Lance saying Linus is awesome. Absolutely, Lance. God's saying Linus. I just call it Linus. I know some people say Linus, and so it's easy for me to say Linus. So Linus or Stallman, if you had to choose. Personally, Linus. Okay, and this is why. And some people might not like this. Okay, because Linus, he takes a realistic approach to the world, okay? If you watch any of his old interviews or anything like that, he doesn't hate Windows, okay? He's not a fanboy of one or the other. He is an engineer. He is an efficiency mindset. He looks at all of these things as tools. You know, what's the best way? What's the most efficient ways to do things, you know? That's why he doesn't care who it's coming from. You know, if he sees that it's stupid or inefficient to him, he will call him out. And that's what I love about Linux. He's not limited by what other people say, what other people think. He's not limited by different communities. He does not care. Okay, so he stays true to who he is. And Richard Stallman does as well. However, I think Linus's approach, I mean, he's realistic. He understands that you can't just have it in a silo. You know, you have to work with other different pieces, other businesses, other technologies. That's why I really feel that Linus, I think I would choose Linus, okay? Richard Stallman, he's on a way different focus and level, okay, in my opinion, okay? And so, yeah, so I don't really like the whole closed approach, and I can use the same analogy with Apple, okay? And I'm not saying Richard Stallman is Apple. Definitely not. I'm not saying that. But that's the closest analogy that I can use, okay? Think of something like a Google, Amazon versus Apple. Their approaches are completely different. One is open, per se, meaning they understand that there's other products and services, other businesses, other things that they need to work with, okay? Whereas with Apple, no, we don't need to work with anybody, okay? So that's kind of the way that I see it, okay? And I prefer the approach that, the open approach, where you are open to different ideas and you understand that the real world, that's how it works. And so you need to learn to work with other pieces, okay? That's my opinion, okay? So, okay, oh, let me see. Randy Blankenship said Windows support uses Linux on their end for OS. Yeah, Randy, and you know, they also have Linux services on their Azure cloud services as well, you know, on their virtual machines. You know, you could run Linux on their Azure cloud services. And so that's why I said the whole Linux is very open. You know, that's his approach. You have to work with other systems. Like I myself, I use Linux 95% of the times, okay? But the other 5%, I do use Windows, at least in a virtual machine. I don't use it that much, okay? I do have Windows 10 here, but I use a lot of Apple Mac OS, okay, as well. Okay, so actually, Linux is the one I use the most, period. Okay, that's what you see me use all the time. That's what I use every day. Second to that, I use Apple's Mac OS every day. And then finally, I do use Windows 10, but mainly to do tutorials and stuff for my channel. Okay, that's really what I use Windows 10 for. And so I'm not biased towards it in terms of I'm not going to limit myself from using whatever tools is best. And for me, Linux is the best tool. So obviously, I'm going to use it the most. Okay, so Team Linus, yeah. Rose said there was a patch in my upgrade for MX17 Intel microcode. I wonder, did that do anything? Did that break anything? Or I don't know. Maybe that might have been a patch. I don't know. God's saying I like the quirky Richard. Yeah, a lot of people do, Gaza. Like he's a person that you will remember. Okay, and like I said, Richard Stallman is a brilliant person. He really is. Okay, it's just that he's a different type of personality. He's a different type of person. Okay, Samuel asks, oh, hi, Go, thanks for joining. No problem, Samuel. Let me see. Oh, Zane Wolf, you're back. Thanks for being back. Okay, let me see. Gaza, it was great. Got to go. It's great being here today. Have a great week off. Thank you so much, Gaza, is joining. Have a great evening. I think it's evening in the UK. Okay, okay. Zane Wolf Alpha, who used DaVinci Resolve 14? It's good. I don't use DaVinci Resolve, and if you're not familiar with DaVinci Resolve, it's a video editor, and it's primarily for pros, really, who are really focused on color correction. Okay, and so if I'm mistaken on that, Zane Wolf, please correct me. But I have tried DaVinci Resolve before. You can get a, I guess, a free limited version for Linux. Okay, but it is a paid product. So for me, it's a little too complex for me. They primarily use it, I'm sorry, not color correction, grading, okay? So that's the pros use that, okay? Randy is saying, I have been on Windows for 20 years. I needed a change, so Linux was there for me. Great. So what are your, you know, Randy, this is the first time you've been on a discussion, and we are done with the main discussions, and normally at the end, we just talk about whatever is interesting to us. Okay, so I'm just curious. You are using Deepin 15.5, but what are some of your thoughts on Linux? You know, being a Windows user. I myself, I've been using Windows for over 20 plus years as well, and so I definitely understand what you're saying. But yeah, what are some of your thoughts? And yeah, Rose was asking what distro Deepin. Hey, K2E, thanks for joining. And so, yeah, and so since we are on this discussion now, where we're out of our main discussions, we just talk about whatever. If there's not much else to talk about, as usual, I try to keep this at an hour. But some of the things that I am working on in the whole Linux end is I will be making an update, another video for my creating a distro series. I'm not sure how long it's going to go, but what I want to do is actually have kind of like a diary, I guess. And if you see my channel, I do like to do that. You know, if you see my playlist, it's like all the stuff that I'm learning, and it's kind of like my own personal video diary. So in this case, I do have a playlist for my creating a Linux distro, and so my goal with that is to get to the point where when I get to basically I guess the last point of my series, I would have been able to create a Linux distro from scratch. That is my goal. Okay, and so the first few videos I had, it was very simple. At least for me, it wasn't that simple because I had to learn how to use it, but it was like basically the easiest way to create a distro. And if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a card up there somewhere where I was using the Studio Express to create a OpenSUSE distro. Okay, so the next step for me is I think it was, I couldn't remember if it was Lance or Ki2E who recommended, or I can't remember who recommended, but they were recommending to use Ubuntu Mini, and so that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, I'm going to take Ubuntu Mini and see if I can create a distro from it. So look out for that. It does take me time to actually do these because I actually have to learn it, and so look out for that. Okay, and so Randy's saying I have needed Google and YouTube a lot to learn Linux. Absolutely, Randy. That's why I was saying, you know, they're providing a lot of great services to you. YouTube is the best place I've ever been to learn. There is no better place for me. Okay, but obviously for Google to provide YouTube for you, they're going to have to make money. That means they're going to have to collect your data. Okay, they're going to have to show you ads. Okay, and so, but the value that you get out of this is immense. That's a perfect example, Randy. YouTube is here because they're collecting data, they're showing ads. Okay, that's how they make money. But look at the value that you get. I would not be on YouTube if Google didn't have a business model for that. Okay, so that's a clear example where you're getting a lot of value from what they're doing. Okay, you don't have to agree with anything, but just understand that this would not be available if they didn't do all those things. Okay, so that's a great point right there, Randy. And so Rose saying, I'm still learning Linux. Yes, you know, we're learning Linux all the time. So Randy's saying, Geek Outdoors, I saw your video to build a OS myself. Oh, thanks, Randy. And I can't wait. You know, I'm really thankful for all the people who, you know, my regulars and anybody else who's watching, who gives me a lot of advice and a lot of their own experiences, because, you know, Linux is so many things that you can learn, you know, just technology in general. But with the Linux community, it's like, if you don't know something, normally there will be people to help you because they all went through the same thing, you know, and not all the help is great all the time, but at least there is a community that in general, they're more likely to help you than not, you know, unless you're just somebody who's trolling, you know, then, you know, they don't want to help you anyway. So, what is the latest version of Go OS so far? Well, Sam, I'm still in version 1.0, and so, like I said on the next video, when I create Ubuntu Mini, it'll be version 1.1, I guess, you know, and so eventually it might be, you know, a long-term project, you know, maybe months before I really understand how to create a Linux distro from scratch. I really want to get to that level because in the long run, and I've already said this in other videos, freedom is always the most important thing to me, not only from technology, but everything else, okay? But Linux, when I think of Linux, I think of freedom. And I think in order for you to have that most freedom, in my opinion, you have to learn how to create your own distro, you know, just in case, things change in the whole Linux community where you don't have a lot of control of, you know. So, but it is not easy. In my opinion, it's not easy. It's pretty complex. And so hopefully by the time I get to a good version that I could actually release and share with other people in a bigger way, then obviously you will be able to see that. And so yeah, so that's coming up. Rose is saying, I felt it weird that Geek made a Linux distro using OpenSUSE and not Ubuntu. Yeah, Rose, because obviously I'm a beginner when it comes to creating a Linux distro. So SUSE Studio was the easiest way for me to create one. And so the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to be using Ubuntu Mini. Okay, so that would be very interesting. So like I said, look out for that, but it's taking me time to actually create it because I actually have to learn it. Okay, Samuel said, yeah, Rose, hope a new one is ready based upon Ubuntu very soon. Yep. And Zane Wolf Alpha said Linux is so easy. Zane Wolf, I think Linux is definitely easy and easier to use, in my opinion, than both Windows or Apple once you learn it. Okay, I've been using Linux for more than a decade, and so I remember when it was nothing but command line. It was definitely not easy back then, but nowadays, modern Linux, especially the popular distros like Linux Mint, it is so much easier than Windows and Mac. And Mac, to a lot of people, they say that's easy, but I guarantee you, if they use something like a Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Ubuntu Mate, whatever, there's so many of them, it's way easier once you start learning it. And so that's why we're here. We're here to educate people who are not familiar with it that there is another alternative. And so K2D, where he could try Remaster Assist if it's around, Samuel. Yep, I'm not sure what you're talking about, K2D, but I'm learning from y'all, so maybe step by step. Randy Blank said that video gave me a lot to think I could do myself. Yeah, Randy, that's the, if you look at my channel, I know I do a lot of stuff, but if you look at it, I focus on only a few key categories, okay? So I focus on geeky stuff, okay, for the majority of my channel. And if you look at my Linux stuff, that's where I have my most videos, okay? Because that's where I spend a lot of my time on every day, and I enjoy Linux a lot, okay? But I am a general user. I would say this, I would keep repeating it. I am a general Linux user. Even though I've used Linux for more than a decade, I pretty much stopped doing a lot of the super geeky stuff like early on, okay? So I just want something to replace my Windows operating system, okay? To use it every single day. And so that's what I share with my audience and then people coming in. Because when people are coming into something new, and it's not just Linux, you don't know anything, and it's hard to learn when there's not a lot of resources available. And now, because of platforms like YouTube, and the community that surrounds it, it's so much easier to learn. And so that's why I make these videos, Randy. A lot of these tutorials and stuff, it's kind of like sharing what I've learned, so then maybe somebody else who doesn't know this yet, they could learn from it, okay? And then they could share it with other people, okay? And that goes with anything, in my opinion. I share a lot of things on my channel. I share Linux, books, health, movies, all types of stuff, but I'm sharing what I've learned and enjoyed, and then I share it with other people. And as you can see here, once you learn it and you like it, it's kind of like paying it forward stuff, okay? So, KIT Grow, I agree. Creating distros is easier, in my opinion, compared to making your own version of Windows. I didn't quite say it that way, KI2NE, but if I think about it, yes, because if you try to make your own version of Windows, Windows is always going to change it. So, when you try to, like, for example, you try to theme your Windows system, or you're changing registry items and stuff like that, right? You kind of made your own version of Windows, but then Windows comes out with an update, and bam, all your changes, or especially the changes underneath, they're gone. Okay, so, Rose say, I can see blue screen. LOL. Sam, you saying I agree with KI2. There you go. Okay, Randy saying, I miss you, need to restart. LOL. Randy saying, I miss Rose. Yeah, Rose, I know everybody's busy, but I'm really it's really cool whenever all of you are able to join. It's really cool. It makes things so much better. Let me see. Go Remaster Assist is a remastering, making your own distro utility for the Debian Ubuntu family. Awesome, KI2NE. So let me start with Ubuntu Mini, and I'll probably try that one next. I really appreciate it. So Randy's saying you got OS, yes, but you don't jump around from this OS to this OS and just give just little. Yeah, Randy, I have said this before many times, and I'll say it again. My channel is not a Linux channel, okay? even though I have hundreds of videos, it's not purely a Linux channel, okay? And so if you look at all my other stuff, it's just made for geeks like me, okay? So that's the way I think about it. And so even though there's a lot of Linux stuff, if you are interested in purely Linux stuff, then there's so many other ones, you know, that I think that do a lot better job than me, okay? Let me see. Joe Collins is my favorite. I'll just say it right there. I have said it before. I did a top 5 Linux. Joe Collins, if you want to learn about Linux, in my opinion, that is the best channel. The best channel, period. There are many other Linux channels, of course. Chris Ware, Quitsub. If you love gaming, you could go to the Linux Gamer. That's a great channel. But there's so many other Linux channels. There's a huge community of Linux channels, okay? So if you just want to learn nothing but Linux, I recommend you go check out those channels. And like I said before, if you want to learn Linux, and you want to learn lots of things in Linux, from like general, medium, all the way to technical, Joe Collins is the best channel. So I highly recommend you go check that out. My channel is for people like me. So if you are a general user and that's all you want, and you love Linux, man, I don't distro hop, like I rarely ever try another distro, then maybe my channel is for you, okay? So that's the short of it, okay? Let me see. Sammy says, only after watching Ghost video, I know that anyone can create their own distro that easy, even though it is very hard to start from scratch. Yes, Samuel, I'm going to keep getting better. Lance is saying, thanks for the show. Go have a great day off. Thank you so much, Lance, for joining. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And so, Samuel, go. Please continue that series. Yeah, I'm going to continue as long as people get value out of it, Sam, and as long as I enjoy doing it. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to stop because I want to learn it myself. And so, bye, Lance. Have a great day. Zane Wolf is saying, are you using Netflix? Yes, I'm definitely using Netflix. Rose, bye, Geek, and everyone. Thank you, Rose, for joining. Samuel S., bye, Rose. So I think we're going to go ahead and end off the episode. It is 1 hour. And as always, I want to first start off by always thanking everybody on the live discussion right now. I want to thank Gaza, as always. Regular, awesome, thank you. I want to thank Robert Naramore. Thank you so much for joining the discussion. Zane Wolf Alpha, thank you for returning to our discussion again. Lance, as always. Rose, Randy Blankenship, thank you so much for joining the live discussion. Let me see if I've missed anybody. Let me see. Zane Wolf, Gaza, Rose. Okay, I think I have gotten everybody here. And Samuel S., of course, Samuel S. is becoming a regular. And of course, KI2E, who has pretty much been on my channel since the beginning. And so, okay, so Samuel S. is saying, Joe Collins is a huge fan of Linux, man, like all of us. Yes, Joe Collins, love his channel. I cannot recommend his channel enough. Granny says, great show so far. Thank you so much, all of you. Okay, so for all of you who are actually watching live, as always, time is the most valuable asset that we have, and I really thank you for spending your time here, watching our geeky discussions, geeking out, and also for anybody else who watches these videos later. I really do truly appreciate all the time that you spent here. And so if you had any thoughts on any of the things that I talked about today I talked about Amazon Tube, and many other things related to Amazon. I talked about Apple's HomePod, and finally I talked about Linus Torvalds calling the whole Intel Spectre patches absolute garbage. Okay, so leave that in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get values out of these videos, be sure to subscribe. And if you did want to support my channel further, you can do that at patreon.com/geekoutdoors.